I am not defending Fubara. He is also an enabler of evil, says Sowore as he lambasts Tinubu over the declaration of state of emergency in Rivers State. According to Sowore, Tinubu's government has always been against dissenting voice. He spoke vehemently against the reckless declaration of the state of emergency by the president. Sowore is a known activist who doesn't give chance for intimidation or of any sort of oppression.
Mr. Sowore, this latest one, the declaration of a state of emergency, the suspension of the governor and the state assembly, it's been described by some as lesser evil of what may have happened if the impeachment proceedings had gone through. But some have said, let's even go back to the beginning. This started off because two men, his godfather, said godfather, and a godson, maybe sat in a room, had a discussion, had an agreement, and things fell out, and the whole nation is now at the receiving end of this. Which of the ends do you take it from? The beginning, the end, or the whole thing?
Well, I take it from the means, I take it from the end, and how it's likely going to end. That is why you referenced my tweet. To be clear, I'm not here to defend the godfather or the godson. I do not care about them. I actually had stated when the crisis started that I hope they destroy themselves, because these guys are mostly enablers of evil in the land, you know. But it is important to state here that we are seeing impunity rear its head in the most ugliest fashion. When a president of a country can sacrifice a whole state, one of Nigeria's richest and most prominent states, on the altar of political convenience for a godfather that's his friend, and you can understand why they are doing that. It is because the godfather, I'm talking about Nyesom, FCT minister, helped the current regime, the current president, to do some election abracadabra in Rivers State that helped him to become the president of Nigeria. And they're already looking beyond today. They're looking at how to handle the next election cycle. That is where all this is coming from. And then you see that every process that led to this was aimed at consolidating power for the godfather. And what I find despicable and unacceptable is that you can wake up and predict that certain people will do some crazy stuff in this country, and it will come to pass, you know, that they will just say, look, you know, we don't care about you, we don't care about your institutions, we don't care about democracy. We will just remove a guy who refused to play ball with us by surrendering the state treasury, I would imagine. And they'll do that. And then we'll wake up the next day and they expect us to move on. That is why I put up that tweet, that there's just so much anger in the land. And for some reason, I'm happy that they are pouring gasoline on the situation so that maybe Nigerians can wake up and do the needful.
Mr. Sowore, why would you be happy that, in quotes, they're pouring gasoline? Do you thrive or enjoy mayhem in that sense? Your mien is calm this morning. So why are you enjoying the gasoline being poured? I imagine that you'll be calling for peace.
Well, there cannot be peace without justice. I'm not calling for mayhem. They are the ones who have introduced mayhem into the polity. I'm not the one who woke up yesterday and decided that a governor, you know, whether democratically elected or selected, he's the governor of the state, should be removed. And a sole administrator is put in place immediately. And they can't even wait for the National Assembly, which I consider to be, you know, pardon my word, useless, to take a position on the matter. And they went straight to what they wanted, that is to release the allocation of the state to a person who is illegitimate, who has not been voted for by people of Rivers State. And that's the first pronouncement they made. And now we can release the money to you. Initially, the Supreme Court said, you know, we are stopping allocation until you resolve certain democratic principles. But now we move from those democratic principles to total lack of democracy. And we're going to, and you know, whoever is thinking that National Assembly is going to come back and say, well, we disagree with this, I have a bridge to sell to you. Nothing is going to happen. The National Assembly is not even as, you know, has no say in this. They're just waiting for them to wrap up. I think they're waiting for the numbers. Even if they don't get up to the numbers they want, they will give you some justification, and this is fait accompli for Nigerian people. But to come back to your question about why I'm happy because maybe this is going to force Nigerians across the country to wake up. You know, I think they have been too complacent, they've been too quiet, they've been too docile. Maybe it's as a result of cowardice. And more and more people are saying that there's need for everybody to join hands together and liberate this country, because we can't just keep believing that this country will make progress when, as a matter of fact, those who are expected to bring progress are completely anti-progress. They are moving in the opposite direction of what ought to be their role in our society. So that's why I'm happy that, you know, maybe this will force Nigerians to complete the 30 days challenge and move on to where they should be. There should be complete revolt. And that is not me saying that I love anarchy. I'm saying that I love justice. And justice cannot be a piece of the graveyard in Nigeria.
Mr. Sowore, so the argument of the Attorney General yesterday, which I would like you to speak to, because sometimes, depending on who you're listening to, people pull up strawman argument, which is that fallacy of strawman argument to put their position out and logically try to win their own, maybe their own audience, or have a premise to defend what they've done in terms of their decision. So the dramatic personnel here is saying is the governor and the members of the House of Assembly who have refused to come together to sort themselves out. So their argument is to the effect that when the dramatic personnel are those that should bring peace and stability and even call for a state of emergency are the ones at the forefront of the crisis. What should they do? We can argue about law, but that is their logic. What do you say to that?
Well, I think Nigeria has had a crisis of attorney generals enabling impunity and illegality. You know, one of the biggest crises I ever faced this country was the annulment of the June 12 election. It came from an advice, or series of advice, given by Attorney General. Each time there is some kind of crisis bedeviling this country, some kind of impunity, draconian laws, and some kind of dictatorship that stands in the way of logic, the person that you see quickly is the Attorney General of the Federation. Maybe we should start looking at that very evil office. And it doesn't matter who the person is, the moment they become the Attorney General, they could be sensible, logical, they could be brilliant, but some kind of toga of impunity is what they wear, and they rub it on the face of the Nigerian people. How can the Attorney General come out and say this is right when we all know that this is a terrible, terrible mistake made by the president or whomever decided on this? Because I don't think would Nigeria know who is the president of their country. It depends on what they want. As of now, it looks like the person who's president is the FCT minister. So maybe there's a rotational presidency depending on interest. But the Attorney General was wrong. I'm sure he knew he was wrong, but do they care? Who cares? They don't care about you. They would do it, get away with it, and they know you will move on. And they too have moved on as we speak. So I'm just hoping that Nigerians will not let this slide. and several other infractions and infringement on their fundamental rights.
Mr. Sowore, I hope that...
You will not let things just slide this time around.
Okay,
but,
I hope that when you say you're not...
Nigerians,
just a moment,
probably have moved on already.
Just a moment. I hope when you say you will not let... Nigerians should not let this slide, you are not calling for anarchy. Because whatever we do, we have to do it within the confines of the law.
I don't know why you're gaslighting me with anarchy. What just happened is anarchy in Rivers State. Somebody just imposed his friend on a state that have elected officials. They've sent soldiers down there, they've driven out the governor. That's anarchy. So why are you gaslighting me with anarchy? If there's anarchy, it is the one that the federal government imposed on Rivers State. The response of the people is not something you should use to gaslight people like me. I don't care about labels. If they are the ones calling for anarchy and they get it, so be it.
Well, evidence doesn't suggest that they are calling for anarchy or that they have subscribed to anarchy.
They just imposed anarchy. They just imposed a state of lawlessness.
Their interpretation of the Constitution may be debatable,
every conversation you've had this morning points to the fact that what they're doing is wrong and is lawless. That is what they call anarchy, not what we are discussing here.
All right, Mr. Sowore, the jury is out there, but you know your activism is not in doubt. And in recent days, in fact, in the last 48 hours, you have taken up the case of the youth corps member who complained, about inflation and the challenges of the economy as it affects her. And we saw you, escort her to the local government. Prior to that time, we also saw that you had an altercation with, security agents in court. You talked about it on the media about, how your passports have been seized. And with reference to your recent tweet that my colleague made reference to earlier on, I'm just wondering, if your comments are, eliciting the inevitability of what you consider a revolt, aren't you worried about another run-in with authorities reminiscent of the immediate past administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, where you were charged for treason, and the subsequent events that elicited global attention? Are you ready for another round of court trips and the attendant consequences that come with it?
No, I'm not. There's nothing I've not been charged with in this country. I've been charged with offenses as small as breach of peace, and I've been charged with treason, which carries death penalties. So you can't scare me with that. That's not the issue. The issue here is about the liberation of Nigerian people. It's about the future of this country. There are persons who are in government today who themselves barely escaped being charged with treason. I think Bola Ahmed Tinubu was once charged with treason, or an attempt was made to him to be charged for treason. So he's president today. So, and I have a lot of charges against me. Some of them I don't even know. They're probably drafting some as we speak, but that should not deter us from doing what we are here to do, which is fixing our own country and liberating our people. So treason, no, they have my passport seized. They have judges that are assigned to my cases specially to ensure that I don't get justice in this country whenever I go into the courtroom. But I go into the courtroom regardless, and ensure that I do what needs to be done. My goal is not to be distracted by these charges or threat of charges. Our goal is to have a country that we can call our own, and that's more important than all the charges put together. They will be defeated even in court again. So I spent 5 years with Buhari. Where's Buhari today? So maximum I'll spend as long as these ones are there. But I don't even think that it will last long if they continue on this trajectory. It is very obvious that something will have to give at some point, very soon.
Well, I think we all recognize that there is a challenge that needs to be fixed, and not just Rivers State, nationally as well. Well, I hope we all recognize it, but at least on this side of the conversation, in this room where you are, we recognize that there are challenges, and we're speaking to these challenges. And I've seen time and again on and off social media, people trying to figure you out. They see your activism, they see your passion for the country, they see your Revolution Now movement, and they always wonder, is this guy true? Or is it too good to be true? Or is it placebo? I'm sure you've seen some of those comments, people wondering, is he a mole? This man doesn't, it looks like it's too good to be true. So I want us to do some hypothetical scenario right now, because you've run for president time and again. If you are in that seat, let's imagine for a moment, and you were confronted with the challenges. First, let's talk about the rivers scenario. Now, the president had intervened, the courts had intervened as well. If you were to be president now, what decision would you have made that would have been different? Let's just hypothetically paint that scenario, Mr. Sowore.
You know, I don't deal with hypotheses anymore. I am not going to be a president of Nigeria where you would have gone to have a Rivers State situation that we have on our hands now. In the first place, as president of Nigeria, you're supposed to wake up in the morning and go to work for the Nigerian people. But when you go to work for special interests, you will have more than the Rivers State issue. And to address your issue about whether I'm good to be true or not, I hate to say this on TV all the time, that if you have something contrary to what I am, who I am, I don't think it's such a difficult thing for you guys in the media to throw it out there, because I have been around for 33 solid years. Nigeria itself has been around for maybe 65 years. I've taken up half of that in my lifetime, fighting for what is just, what is right, and ensuring that people get a fair share of what belongs to them, both from, you know, the Niger Delta region where this crisis is taking place to people in Zamfara, Kanu. But it's important that I do not engage in hypotheses with you. It is not necessary for me to keep defending my integrity on TV when, as a matter of fact, you all promote people without integrity every day. You support them, you hide them, you shield them. And that's why this country is in a mess. And you ask the good people of Nigeria to come and defend why they are good. And you ask the bad people not to show up, or to show up with lies and deception every day. And that's why the country is in a mess. But I'm here very clear-headed, you know, with a very clean position on how this country should be fixed. And I do not think that a president who legitimately runs a country should be running the country down and chasing the people off the cliff. And that is what subsequent regimes, successive regimes have done in Nigeria. And to let you know that I'm not just a spring chicken here, I have gone through almost 10 presidents now in my lifetime, starting from Babangida, who all of you were promoting for launching a criminal book a few days ago, to the man there now, who all of us, you know, reportedly fought for democracy together. But it's very clear who was fighting for democracy then and who wasn't fighting for democracy now. So, but hey, before I came on board, you know, I've had forebears who were treated the same way. Gani was hounded. Gani Fahmi was hounded in this country. They said he's a liar, he's not who he claimed he is. He was troublesome, he was, you know, self-promoting fella, was given the same treatment. Everybody who has done good in this country has been paid back with evil. But I'm not here looking for validation. I'm looking for a country in which I deserve to live in freedom and not for my passport to be seized, for my
your point's taken indeed, but I like to think that
integrity, because I said we should do right.
Right. I like to think that you're not at least parrying my question. And by the way, we are journalists. We report what happens, whether good, bad,
I'm a journalist too.
Just pardon me, Mr. Sowore. I'm trying to put my question in.
I might be less journalist than you are, but I know nuances when I hear
So the point here is, we report what happens. You also reported the same event. So whether it's good, it's bad, Our job is to report it and get people's views. And that's why we're having this conversation with you. And my question is quite simple. You've run for president, and I imagine you've done a lot of scenario planning. I imagine that you know the law. And I imagine you see things happen in this country, and you maybe have alternative solutions to them, better than what you think this government is doing. So my question is, what should have been done differently? And I think this presents Nigerian people, the government as well, if we say we want to fix Nigeria, with data. Oh, you're not doing it right. This is the way you could have done it. And that's what my question is, as simple as that. What should have been done differently?
What we should have done differently, and I hope you listen to me and Nigerians are listening, is not to vote for terrible people or allow terrible people to become president in our country, because the consequences are upon you every minute. That is also a simple answer. And the alternative is there. I'm an alternative. I have presented an alternative manifesto, an alternative scenario. And I've told you, even before you rephrased this question, that I wouldn't have been a president who worked for special interests. I would have been a president who worked for Nigerian people. And I hope you're watching and listening. And I hope you continue to provide platforms that allow good people to shine and not terrible people. Because part of how you created all these Frankenstein monsters is that you go to their houses and do press conferences with them live to lie to the Nigerian people, and the people who have something alternative to say, even the media don't give them the coverage. I'm not referring to you alone. I'm talking about how even all of us within the mainstream media have treated good as opposed to elevating bad.
All right, Mr. Sowore, well, we're just doing our job, just like you were doing your job. We're doing our job. Good, bad, and ugly is our job to report everybody. Report the event, right. Report the persons, cover as much as you can, which is what you did at a very, very high level before you left to pursue your ambition of being president. So let's begin to coast home on this particular issue. So in your view, two questions in one, if you can. What is the way forward? But that's one question on the conundrum we're seeing that is playing out in Rivers State. At least a solution that can bring peace, because at the end of the day, we can argue about Nyesom, Wike, the FCT minister, the action of the president, whether Fubara was reckless, according to some people, or not. We can put up all that debate. What is important is the people of Rivers State are the ones suffering right now. So in your books, where you sit, what is the way forward at the end of the day? Because solution is what everybody is speaking to right now.
Yes, let me make a clarification once again that I'm not here to defend Fubara. Fubara is also an enabler of evil. If Fubara hadn't existed under Wike, Wike would not have gotten away with some of the crimes that he got away with, stealing money in Rivers State. That's very clear. Fubara was declared wanted for stealing billions before he was packaged to become the governor of Rivers State. This is part of the results that we're seeing. They're the ones who enabled Wike. I'm speaking on behalf of due process. I'm speaking on, on the side of the people of Rivers State, whose resources have been hijacked by its sole administrator, by these Abuja cabals. So that's what I am. But in terms of solution, my solution is very simple. The people of this country must gather their arms together, hold it tight, and liberate themselves by all means necessary. It is very clear that this will be going through these circles of, mismanagement of our resources, of our integrity, of oppression, if we don't do something about it. And probably that is why you noted that I've been very calm this morning, because maybe if I change my demeanor, more people can understand that I'm not just angry, but I want this country to really, really prosper and be peaceful and make progress, just like even some of our small African countries are doing. I saw last week there are 10 top African countries that are doing well in terms of economic development and making democratic progress. Nigeria is not one of them. Seychelles, one of these small islands, is one of them. Mauritius is one of them. South Africa is there. These are countries that we used to assist with handouts some 30, 40 years ago. They're doing better than we do, and that's what concerns me. And we're not going to be talking about solutions in a roundabout manner, what is called roundaboutism. it's not the solution they provide, the solution we want that we should continue to provide, no matter how hard it is to hear it. We need to have a revolution in this country. Thank you.
Mr. Amaewhule Sowore, 2023 presidential candidate of the AAC, thank you for your time on the program.